when the housing market will crash. That's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about in this episode. Hey gang, this is Mike with MrNoFluff.com, with MyRealEstateDojo.com, and today I'm going to be talking about exactly when the house market will crash. Okay, now before we get started, if you could click the like button, leave me a comment below about your financial goals or what you had to eat last night, because it does help out with the algorithm. Okay. So, and again, I want to thank you for being here. Now, anything I say in this video is just my own personal views and opinions. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a CPA. I'm not an attorney. I'm not any of those guys, anything like that. I'm actually a refugee to America that was lucky enough to follow his heart and be his dreams and turn $100 into a moving company that I owned for 14, 15 years, which made multi-millions of dollars. And I got into the real estate game. I became a landlord. And then I ended up giving most of my stuff away to the homeless people because I was not happy. Okay. So that said, let's dive in. In my opinion, when do I think the U.S. Housing market will crash? Well, I think we're already in a crash. But because of the manipulators, we're having an inverse effect. Okay, why do I say we're in a crash right now? All right, let's get to that. Well, there are millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people that haven't made their mortgage payments. There's millions and millions and millions of people that are renters that haven't paid their landlords. There's millions and millions and millions of people that are unemployed or underemployed, etc. Okay, and so by definition itself, we have more house delinquents than we had in the 1930 Great Depression. Now, why do I say that the manipulators are controlling it and we're having an inverse effect is because instead of having massive foreclosures happening all across America, all across the nations, doesn't matter what county you're in, okay, we're having an opposite happen, which is we're having house prices go up. Now, the question is, why are house prices going up? And no, it's not lumber, right? I mean, that has a little part to it, but it's really not it. Okay? The reason house prices are going up is because the manipulators are controlling the inventory, the supply. They're controlling the inventory by not allowing foreclosures to happen. And therefore, the demand is still there, even though that we just had a bug situation. People want new homes, especially in the summertime, right? In the spring and summertime, for a guy that owned a brokerage firm for many years, I know that, spring and summer are the hottest time for real estate. As a guy that owned a moving company for 14, 15 years, I know that the best time to move in spring is summer. So I can tell you by authority, by being in the industry in both angles, that this is the peak of the demand, okay? And people have been cooped up. Now they got all this free money that's been printed and been giving out. So people have thousands of dollars lined up and, they see that house of real estate going up. So, people are jumping into it. They want to get into it because majority of the herd follows the flock. And the flock follows whatever is pumping. Like if Bitcoin is pumping, then people want to buy it. If the stock's going up, then people want to buy it. People don't want to buy something that's not cool. They only want to buy it when it becomes cool. And when it becomes cool, the herd is following it. And usually is when I don't do that, right? I go the opposite direction. Now, so instead of house prices coming down, because we're in a house market crash, right? The manipulators have control of the ecosystem so greatly that they're able to have an inverse happen to it, which is house prices are going up. And again, why are the house prices going up? Because they're controlling the supply of foreclosures. Because if the foreclosures were hit the streets, right, then we would have major correction in home prices because there's more homes than buyers. Again, let me say that again. There's more homes than buyers because millions and millions of people have lost their job. And I know the economy is coming back up because of all the free printing of money they done recently, right? And people are now summer is coming. They're going out there and going to spend more money. And so, yes, the economy is going to be coming up, but we're not where we are supposed to because we're buying stuff that we haven't made. Again, I've gone over it multiple times. Layer one, okay, think about the monetary system as a layer. Layer one is the production of stuff. Layer two is the currency. So if we get a bunch of layer two, doesn't mean that it's going to be enough layer one stuff out there, goods and services out there for all the layer two money. So we can increase the layer two to infinity, but doesn't mean that we're going to have more items to buy, because items require people to work and produce, people to become entrepreneurs, people to go to jobs. By giving people money and shutting down businesses and factories, well, we're not producing anything, which is leading into hyperinflation. And now, you're seeing the heads of America, like Warren Buffett, coming to TV and saying, yes, we're going to have inflation. And it's not a shock, because these individuals and the media, they groom the audience of America to be okay with what's coming. They're prepping them up. Like, everyone's going on TV from New York Times, everywhere you go, right? They're telling you that there's going to be massive inflation because they're prepping you up. For example, same thing with stocks. They're like, hey man, the stocks are really good. Buy it. They tell you when it's going to be crashing. So, so the whole thing is manipulated. That's why you're having an inverse reaction. Okay. Millions of people are in default, delinquent in their mortgages. So again, millions and millions all over America are default in their mortgage, delinquent. They're behind on their house mortgages, on their house payments. But we're not seeing the inventory. And there's actually home shortages. So let me say that again, guys and ladies. There's millions and millions of people who haven't paid their mortgages. Millions and millions of people that are lost their jobs. However, instead of the foreclosure happening and having a flood of inventory, just like the last real estate crash, 2007, 2008, 2009, where there was so much inventory, well, this time they're holding it back. They're printing money out and giving it out to people. All right. So we're having an inverse effect, which is house prices are going up. So the question was, when would the house market crash? Well, we're already in a crash now, but they're just not televising it. And because the manipulators have such a great control, they can rig the game, that instead of the being massive floods of house in foreclosures and inventory, there's the opposite effect. There's no inventory and house prices are going up. And so, very, very soon, in my opinion, it's going to be televised. But just because it's not televised, it doesn't mean it's not happening. Okay. I mean, and that's the thing, because majority of people are watching these hedge funds, watching the newspapers, watching the head talkers of America, and they are grooming people. They're, hurting them in a certain direction. Okay. In my opinion, this is what I think. That's why you see Warren Buffett come out and say, yes, there is going to be inflation. I mean, Warren Buffett always says stuff for, his best interest, and, and also, Big Brother and central bankers' interest, because he's such a big figure, right? He's not going to come tell people, hey, the housing market is going to crash. But then, he bought himself, guess what? A real estate brokerage firm in the last crash. They created themselves a, investment to buy rentals, right? Because I remember competing with them to buy some of the properties, right? Then he created himself, other businesses that are in the real estate arena. So, they're not going to come tell us the bad news. And, and if they tell you something that's bad news, I think it's just to program everyone to realize what's going to be happening, okay? That we're about to get hyperinflation, that things are going to be pretty rough. There's millions of people that are behind on payments, millions of people that don't have jobs. And here's the thing, millions of people are buying stuff that they don't really need because they got some free money. But the problem is we're not producing anything, and eventually there's going to be a shortage, right? And the primary beneficiary of all the money printing, is other countries like China, because the people that got the money, they're probably more than likely spending it on, websites like Alibaba and things of that nature to save some money, right? So, anyways, when do I think the house market will crash? In my opinion, the way I look at things, we're already in a crash. It's just not being televised. I believe that shortly it will be televised. Okay. Now, they can prolong this out for another year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, because, again, it's not a fair market. It's not an open market. It's not a natural event. It is a man-made, created by, sophisticated, greedy people that want the power and they want to control us. And by them, and I mean them, I'm talking about the central bankers, and people of, power, right? The elites that want everyone else to be workers where they are printing the money. Okay. So eventually the house market will be televised, and then that's when everyone's going to know. But in my opinion, we're already in a crash. We're having an inverse effect. In 5 to 10 years, you're going to come back and say, 2020, 2021 was one of the worst times ever for real estate. And you can mark my words, just like what I said in 2006 fourth quarter, that, hey, the crash is here, and, we're going to a major thing. And then 6 years later, it said, oh, that was the greatest recession. But when we're going through it, no one's saying those things, right? So anyways, guys, thank you for watching. But before you guys leave, I want to say, always remember, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and twice as beautiful as you ever imagined. Thank you for leaving a like. Thank you for leaving a comment. It really helps out the algorithm. Much love from me to your family. And don't forget, don't take no for an answer. Peace.